Okay, we are nearing the end of the semester and the end of our textbook. This week we'll be focusing on Chapter 17, Style and Technical Writing. And this is really important for you for mostly, I suppose, a couple of reasons. I find, as a person who has been teaching college-level English and writing courses for decades, that a lot of times part of the reason that students get into college and succeed in college is that they work on having a bit of a puffed up style. And that style may work decently well for a little while in college, but the more successful style for the professions, the trades, and so forth is going to be one of a kind of, what shall we call it, an economy of words, a precision of word choice. Deflating the style is one way of describing it. Anyway, so chapter 17 is really nice because here are the chapter objectives. You will be introduced to the basic elements of style, and style in terms of writing style, your expression, the way that you put sentences together, the way that you choose words, just how you express your ideas. Learn to revise sentences for clear and concise style. One thing all writing classes should emphasize is when you're drafting, you really just need to get out the idea, but don't assume that you should turn in a paper that you just got out the idea for. Revision practices are really, really important to end up with a quality document that people will want to read, and that should be your goal. You want to write things that people are interested in reading, not that they are strapped to a chair and forced to read because they have to grade your papers. You know, like me, for example. Okay, learn the importance of accurate word choice. Learn to use active and passive voice appropriately, and your book will explain that very clearly, but basically, active voice would be the expression, he hit him, right? Subject, verb, object, and the subject, he, is doing the hitting, okay? So your subject, he hit him, I went to school, he enjoyed flowers, she ran to the park. Those are all active sentences because they begin, the structure of it is an agent that is doing something active, so the verb is active. The passive voice would be sort of the flip of that. Instead of he hit him, it would be something kind of really gross, like he was hit by him. Generally speaking, we don't talk that way, and we don't enjoy receiving information that way. He was hit by him. What else? The homework was done by her. You want to avoid these expressions, particularly in technical writing. There are cases where you use passive voice. I think in law and in the social sciences, passive voice is used a lot. For example, if you were a defense attorney and you were arguing to protect the rights of a defendant, you certainly don't want to address someone on the stand and say, when my client stabbed the victim. You can see how that could go wrong. So instead, such an attorney would use the passive voice and say something along the lines of, when the victim was injured, right? To soften it up and to reduce the sense of agency. But for the most part, in practically everything that practically all of you are going to be doing, you want to prefer active voice. Okay, avoiding biased language. You want to take care not to emphasize socioeconomic difference, age difference, gender difference, and to make it sound as though some people are more important than others because, well, primarily in business, that's just offensive, and if you're in business, you want to avoid offending people. But beyond that, it kind of expresses a sort of a worldview that the hierarchies that we have in society are somehow or another by nature correct, and that's just, shall we say, not a very enlightened perspective. So check your language and see if you don't have, you know, the little fossils of socioeconomic status buried in there somewhere, and if you find them, you should dig them out and, well, keep them out. You'll be introduced to standards for plain English and simplified English. Very basically, it's always better to say has than to say possesses. Adding syllables doesn't make you sound smarter, it makes you sound awkward. Okay, so prefer plain English and simplified English. Don't pick words because they're longer, pick words because they communicate well. Practice revising sentences for clear, readable, and accurate style. So this is really nice. You have an overview that explains to you, your editorial style sheets and your categories and so forth. Abbreviations. Okay, definition of style, here we go. Just as all writers have distinct personalities, they also display distinct features in their writing. A definition of writing style shown above. The more that you revise with an eye to the elements of style, such as tone, and we've been practicing that, I think, quite a lot in our weekly homeworks, having a positive tone, having a neutral tone, making readers feel invited to learn what you have to say. The more subconscious your decisions about style will become. So if you practice revision, you won't have to always keep practicing revision. Any kind of writing that you develop over a period of time, any habits of mind that you develop over a period of time, they start to just be with you, and you start to just reach for them without necessarily thinking about them. For example, I suppose, once upon a time when you were a very small child, you probably had difficulty learning to tie your shoes. But it is now a thing today that you have done so very many times that you don't think about it when you tie your shoes. It's just part of you, right? So revision in documents, that also becomes a part of you. It becomes subconscious, and that's a good thing. So you need to practice it quite a bit now, perfect as much as you can, because you're going to take that with you into your profession. Okay, so the chapter talks about tones: casual tone, objective tone, persuasive tone, and these are very good things to know because you want to convey the right sort of personality in your documents for any given situation. Sometimes you should sound authoritative, sometimes you should sound friendly. It will depend on what the situation is and who you're speaking with, and what your purposes are. Writing clear sentences, and that's going to be, I suppose, the assignment for the week. And here your chapter talks about the terms for sentences. Again, those terms: subject, verb, object, what a clause is, what a main clause is. And it can all sound very stuffy, but take it in and do what you can with it. And if you have any sort of questions about writing style, writing issues, things you're not sure about how to perfect, a big one among college students is the run-on sentence. There are usually at least a handful in every single class of people who have trouble with run-on sentences at the very beginning of class. By the end, very often just the practice of writing a whole bunch helps people to clear that out, but there's very often at least one student in every class who has practiced, and the run-on sentence continues to keep biting at them. So if that's you, I would recommend one of two things or three things. Go to a tutor specifically to work on that. Take samples of your writing, work with the tutor, talk with the tutor about what is a run-on sentence and how to perfect that. You can come to me during my office hours, Tuesday, Thursday, 2:15 to 4:45 in Peters Building 403. Perhaps one of the reasons I was hired, I'm very good at helping people with run-on sentences. And it's a simple thing, and once you've got it, you've got it. So it's worth spending that 10 or 20 minutes to just bring in samples of your writing and talk to somebody who can help you. Anyway, that's my best advice for that. Guidelines for sentence style. You want to, certainly for any kind of business writing whatsoever, you want your main point near the beginning. You want to do that for science writing. You want to do that for writing in English literature. The main point near the beginning. You're not writing a mystery novel. You don't want people to guess what you're talking about. You want to state it up front. Okay, so that's really, really important. Focus on one main clause in each sentence. This is good advice as well. It has to do with how you kind of couple things together, how you hook up the train cars on your train. Because there are tips and specific ways of ordering things in a sentence so that they communicate really well. You don't want the upside down sentence. You don't want readers trying to guess who is doing the planning and what they are planning and you know, what the objective is. The objective must be very clear. So anyway, it's good to have one main clause in each sentence, and actually this one, if you get good at this, this is going to eliminate your run-on sentences. Promise. Okay. Vary your sentence length, but seek an average of 15 to 20 words. Well, that's awfully precise, isn't it? As a specialist in English, this makes me itch, but it is true. For technical writing, you do want an economy of words, sentence by sentence. You want things clearly laid out, specific, and you're not going to hook up 50 train cars on this train. Not for technical writing, not for business writing, and even most of the professions. Those long sentences, those belong to, you know, English literature people and philosophers and probably attorneys. Okay, so there we go. See, so there's just a whole bunch of really good advice in this chapter, and I think that you're going to enjoy the learning, and I think that it's going to benefit your style quite a bit. Anyway, so we have done that, and now, oops, scroll, scroll, scroll. Here's your assignment for the week. Okay, so study chapter 17 on writing style. Go to the assignments on page 653. I think the assignments continue for another page or two, and these are the problems that you'll be working on. I've kind of grouped together ones that I thought were particularly good for this class, to work on conciseness, to clarify abstractions, to work on sentence clarity here, and the last set are active and passive voice. So you want to correct passive voice and make it active. Okay, and I've gone ahead and just typed in the sentences from the book so that it's clear what it is I'm asking you to do, and you don't feel, hopefully, confused by that at all. Anyway, so we're about ready to wind up the semester. I hope that the class has been really beneficial for you and maybe a bit of fun, and I'll be talking to you again soon. Bye-bye.